Brittany, hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to be here. I know we've had a few scheduling things going on and you've been doing some really exciting stuff. How was harvest?
It was good. It was, a lot of work as harvest always is. So, having a cannabis farm outdoors out in New York, you're up against the weather, you're up against a lot of different conditions, but, even in the perfect conditions, harvest is a lot of work, but we got all of our plants out of the field. They just finished drying and curing, and now we are on to, trimming them up and getting them ready to, go into some products.
Wow, that is so cool. What does trimming mean?
Fresh out of the field, they have a lot of the leaves on them, the big kind of classic cannabis leaves that, you picture that, are everywhere, right? But you actually take those leaves off and then, you kind of trim it up and you kind of, manicure and landscape the buds a little bit, give them a little haircut. So then, those leaves are removed and you just have the buds left, the end product people are used to seeing when they purchase cannabis.
Love it. Give them a little bit of love before they get out into the world. I feel like this is a great time for you to give us the introduction to you and what your brand actually is.
I started Tonic in 2017, like early 2017. I started to develop products really for my own use. Struggled with depression most of my life, anxiety, like later on in my teenage years became a big problem, and cannabis was really always something that helped me deal with those issues and manage them. But it was really getting to a point where it wasn't kind of workday friendly. I needed something that was going to allow me to function throughout the day. I was a personal trainer at the time, so needed to really be high energy, working these crazy hours and everything. Nobody wants like a zonked out personal trainer. It's not super motivating, right? So that is when I learned about CBD, and to kind of cut to the chase in terms of what Tonic is. We make CBD products, but we really look beyond CBD to create a more holistic and integrative wellness solution for mind and body. And we do that by using different adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods that complement the effects of CBD in specific ways and enhance certain benefits. So that way you can really target the effects that you want, because that's definitely one of the issues that a lot of people face with CBD is like it can be really hard to find the dose that's right for you. It can do so many things, but it's like, how do you get it to do what you actually want when you want it to do it, right? So I've tried CBD, for the first time. It was like late 2016. And I was super hesitant about it. Honestly, I was like, this is like fake weed. Like, I don't understand, like I smoke weed every day. Why do I need this different kind of weed now? Like, and that was really when it was brought to my attention that the weed that, I was consuming, the cannabis I was consuming on a daily basis is very high in THC, right? So THC is the compound that gets you high, that has the psychoactive effects, right? Or intoxicating effects of cannabis. So I wasn't really realizing that, that was all THC. But there's this whole kind of spectrum of other compounds that are naturally found in cannabis that have kind of been like bred out of the kind of recreational or medical cannabis that you consume for to get high, right? So it's bred with very high THC levels and very low CBD because they're antagonists, right? If there's really high THC, there's going to be really low CBD and vice versa. So understanding that CBD was a separate compound that I was not actually getting in the cannabis that I was consuming daily, I was like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense as to why I would need to supplement with, something different like this, and, has different effects, but I still didn't really understand fully how it was doing that or kind of why those different compounds were important. I gave it a shot anyway. I was like, you know what? My friend recommended it. I'll try it out. Whatever, it can't hurt. And I went to a local head shop that, was selling like a little bottle of CBD, like not that strong or anything, for like $90. And I was like, oh my God, this is expensive. And felt like, I was buying weed paraphernalia. I had to go into kind of like a seedy head shop. And so it was kind of like a weird experience, but gave it a shot. And I was honestly surprised at how well it really worked to help, mitigate my anxiety. And like one of my clients who, really friendly with actually like said to me like a couple days after I was taking it, was like, she's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you in such a good mood? And I was like, oh yeah, like I am in a really good mood. Like what is going on? And I was like, oh, took that CBD. That's really the only thing that's different. So I really started to pay attention to, how it was making me feel. I was noticing like my workout recovery was better. My sleep was improving. And like, of course, the main thing that I was focusing on, the anxiety was definitely improved and my mood. So I was really like, okay, I need to understand how it's doing this now, right? Because, at this point I had gone through college level education on, physiology, biology, nutrition. I was a certified nutrition coach and really understanding all of these things about the human body. And nobody talked about this really integral system that we have within us called the endocannabinoid system. And as I started to learn about the endocannabinoid system, which is this giant kind of regulatory network within our bodies, that its main goal is to restore and maintain homeostasis, or our body's ideal state of balance that it's always striving towards, right? We call it like the Goldilocks zone. It's where everything is just right and operating just as it should. That's really the role of the endocannabinoid system. And it works with all these different parts of our bodies to make sure that everything is working in harmony, that all these different parts of our bodily systems are working together and working as they should. To understand how CBD interacts with this system in a different way that THC does. And that's why they have different effects, right? Why CBD is not going to produce that high that THC does is because THC binds to certain receptors in your brain called the CB1 receptors. And that is, it kind of fits in like a lock and key. And that's what activates that kind of that psychoactive effect. CBD, on the other hand, is actually, like I said, an antagonist. So it actually blocks that receptor. Not only does it not fit into it, it blocks it. So if you were to have a product that had basically the same amount of CBD and THC, right? Like I have a gummy that's 10 milligrams CBD, 10 milligrams THC. You're not actually going to feel as high as you would from a 10 milligram THC only gummy because of the fact that the CBD is actually working to kind of block those receptors and stop THC from producing those effects, right? So it's a good tip for people out there. If you get too high, have CBD on the ready. So, but because it can help bring you down. But anyway, it was really understanding how CBD was working with the endocannabinoid system to kind of like send all these signals to help regulate the system, right? Like I said, to restore that homeostasis. And that's when I really made the connection between CBD and the endocannabinoid system and more traditional, well-known adaptogens like ashwagandha. So ashwagandha was something that I was using in my routine. One of the only things that I felt I could really notice a difference with, and like it was really helping with my mood and my stress levels, things like that. So I started to really connect the dots that both of these things, both CBD and ashwagandha, they both are working towards the same goals, right? Anxiety relief, lower stress levels, balance, better mood, energy levels, all of that, right? All in the interest of bringing us back to that place of homeostasis, a perfect balance. But they take different pathways to get there. So while CBD is really activating the endocannabinoid system and our serotonin levels, ashwagandha is more so working with our cortisol levels and our hyperpituitary adrenal axis, right? So like they're taking these different pathways to accomplish the same goal. My thought was, that combining them, they'd be able to cover more ground and more efficiently and effectively reach those goals. And long story short, that's exactly what happened. I started to combine these two things, kind of just like a very crude combination that I was making in my home for myself. And that's like where I was like, felt like CBD got me almost where I needed to be, like ashwagandha got me almost where I needed to be, but combining them is got what I was looking for in terms of really helping with my anxiety and my mood and my energy levels. That was just huge for me personally, but I started to really see how it could really benefit a lot of the clients that I was working with as well. So like I said, I was a personal trainer. I was working with people from all different populations, right? Older people who were more so focused on, mobility and, helping with pain and, helping, do stretching and mobility work and stuff like that. 20-year-old athletes and, everything in between, right? So just really understanding how stress and, chronic stress leads to chronic inflammation and this cycle that we all get stuck in, to kind of no fault of our own. It's really just that's the reality of modern life, right? Is that we're constantly stimulated, we're overstressed, overworked, like we always feel like we have to be go, go, go. We're, bombarded with so much stimulus throughout the day from our phones, from the news, everywhere we go, right? It becomes really difficult to actually accomplish your health and wellness goals, whether that's to lose weight, to be in less pain, to get stronger. All these things are inhibited by these chronically elevated cortisol levels, their stress hormone levels, and chronic inflammation. Your body is kind of basically is so busy putting out fires that it's not, getting to the point where it's actually rebuilding. How I saw it was that this could be a way to really get people to stop just digging ourselves out of the hole that we've created with stress and everything like that, and actually be able to get to the baseline where we can build health and wellness upon, right? So, it's really about just getting to that baseline, getting to that point of homeostasis, getting out of our fight or flight response and allowing our bodies to really do what it needs to do to repair and to grow and to feel better. So I started to share this formula with my clients, and they were getting the same kind of results that I was. They were really amazed with how they felt, how much better that they were feeling just overall taking this. So then I really started to think of other ways that CBD can address a lot of the issues that my clients were facing, and a lot of them were pain related, right? And CBD is such a potent anti-inflammatory that I started to do more research around CBD and pain relief and topical solutions rather than in the ingestible ones I was making. And I created a roll-on oil for pain relief that I started to use with a lot of my clients. And that was really like the cool part was these older, kind of more conservative clients that I had who I knew would be very hesitant if I told them what it was that I was wanting to put on them. I would just say, hey, like I made this natural plant-based pain relief oil. Do you mind if I put it on that shoulder that's been bothering you, and see how you feel? Yeah, no problem. Put it on and like do a little work and have them move it around, and to see their faces like almost immediately, that pain that has been there and just kind of just agonizing, and even if it's just like a dull pain, like the range of motion that they were not able to accomplish, and they're just moving it no problem, and their face is like, oh my god, like what is that? What did you just put on me? And then I tell them like it's called CBD. It's actually from the cannabis plant, but it's I would always explain it as it's like medical marijuana but without the high, right? And like it's like all the benefits of medical marijuana but without the intoxicating effects. Because at that time, early 2017, CBD was not widely known whatsoever, right? It was very, very new to everybody. Like I said, I was a cannabis consumer for 10 years at that point, and it was still new to me. So explaining that to people and getting them to understand that was a really big part of it. From there, I just really utilized this kind of built-in test audience that I had with my clients and everything. And I was able to get their feedback, like, what do you want to see? What do you need help with the most? Where do you feel like you could use improvement, and like kind of what issues need to be addressed? And everybody said sleep across the board. Sleep was the biggest issue. So that really led me to create Chill Tonic, which is now, pretty much from day one and to this day has been our best selling product, hands down. And it basically takes the same formula as the OG, which is that original blend of CBD and ashwagandha that I created. So it takes that and adds lemon balm and passion flower and a little bit of a higher dose of CBD. So the lemon balm and passion flower really create a much more calming effect. It really activates certain receptors and neurotransmitters in your body to signal your nervous system to slow down. Helps with insomnia, helps with racing thoughts, anxiety. So it's you get all those balancing and restorative effects that you do with that original OG formula, but just takes that calming effect to the next level. From day one until now has been our best selling product. Pretty quickly thereafter, like I said, this was like early 2017, as I started making more of these products and kind of giving it to more of my community. It was one problem was very clear, was that kind of supply of the raw materials like the CBD extracts themselves were not the quality or the consistency that I wanted for my product. Especially coming from the background that I came from in health and wellness, knew that the quality of the ingredients is what's going to make or break this product, right? It's nothing without the quality. So I was really frustrated with the fact that there wasn't a lot of states producing CBD at the time, so there wasn't a big supply to pull from. It was super unregulated, just like very wild west kind of style.
Cowboys out there.
Exactly. And I was getting ripped off, and it was a nightmare. So I had this idea that my family has property in upstate New York. I'm originally from Long Island, like pretty close to New York City, but my family has property in upstate New York. Husband and I had actually got married there back in 2015, and my parents started to spend more time up there after that. Turned it into a full-fledged wedding venue after our wedding. It came out so well.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I had this idea to approach my parents and say, hey, what do you think about growing hemp on this land? Because this is going to be a huge industry. There's going to be huge demand, and there has to be other people out there like me who are really demand a higher caliber quality material for their products, and really care about what's going into the products that they're making and that they're selling. So not only can we provide Tonic and our products quality that that we're demanding, but we can provide that same service for other like-minded brands. Luckily, my parents are, I guess, just as crazy as I am, and they were down to go for it. And we got our license from New York State to grow hemp in late 2017. We were among the first privately licensed farmers in the state to be able to grow. And we've been growing every year since then, we got our organic certification, certified organic farm. We're family owned and operated in upstate New York, and really focus on sustainable and regenerative agriculture, making sure that we're giving the land as much as we are taking from it, if not more, because at the end of the day, that's what really is going to determine the quality of your products. Cannabis can be such a beacon of sustainability if it's done right, and we really feel like it's if we're going to be growing this and taking that on, to really be doing it responsibly and in a way that is good for the land and good for the environment around us, and helping to contribute to the ecosystem rather than taking anything away from it. That's all part of the healing, right? It's all part of this bigger picture. Our motto is to be good for the planet and good for the people. It's just everything that we do from start to finish is all about that. And yeah, we've been growing since 2018 was our first season. We opened up our processing and manufacturing facility, which I'm speaking to you from right now in early 2020, actually right before the COVID shutdown. So it's perfect time to launch a new business. So that was really kind of our last step in becoming fully vertically integrated, meaning that we control everything from when the seed goes into the ground until that bottle gets to your doorstep or on the shelf of the stores that you purchase it at.
Wow. Holy moly. There's a lot here to dig into. Oh my gosh, you've just answered a million questions that I already had. So I love that. Also, just quickly, before I jump into it, what did your parents say when you kind of pitched them this idea of growing the hemp farm?
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of like, my husband was really taking the lead on like figuring out how we're actually going to grow it, and managing that. And they were just really interested in like, well, okay, like what do we have to do? Like, they're kind of we're reaching like retirement age, and spend more time up there. So they were kind of down for the cause. They didn't question it too much, which is very ironic considering when I was in high school, my mom actually drug tested me for THC because she felt I was smoking too much weed. It was a big problem, big issue in my house growing up, that I smoked too much weed. But now my mom, not only are we growing cannabis on our family farm, but my mom is Tonic's shipping manager and office manager. So every Tonic package that you get is packed up by her and sent out.
Packed by your mom. Oh, that's so cool. I love that so much. Oh my God, that's amazing. Also, I feel like you summed up like how I feel, and your products just sound so amazing. I can just see how that can help so many people. Like me, I'm someone who struggle with sleep. I struggle with my nervous system. I struggle with anxiety. Like I struggle with all these things. And sometimes you just don't know where to start because you're so like you said, also overstimulated with information. Like we get bombarded with like, take this, do this, do this. And it's so hard. So as you were telling me your journey there, I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And I can see like the sales pitch is good. I want that.
I always want to be careful when I say this because, you don't want to obviously create a product that's just for you, right? You want it to be something that more people can, really relate to and engage with and feel like they can get value from. But at the end of the day, like, you should be making a product that you would want to be using, right? You know what needs that you have. So like if you're addressing your needs and you're effectively addressing your needs, like there are other people out there that feel like you do, right? And it's really about finding like that community who is that, who are these people that are kind of having these shared experiences and can really relate to what I'm going through, and kind of have these same, whether it's kind of values or same kind of just ways about addressing their health and wellness, and speaking to that, right? And for me, it's all about authenticity, and I think that's with any brand, any successful company. You have to be like authentic as a small business, what we have to rely on, right? I don't have a huge marketing budget. I don't have any of that kind of stuff, but I have my own story and, my ability to really convey that and say that like, hey, this helped me like just kind of get through my day to day. And this is why I'm making this product. And, if I can help other people in the same way that, these products helped me, that's really my goal here. And, that's having that as kind of like your guiding force, right? It kind of makes it easier to make important decisions about your business, right? And how to go about scaling and how to go about growing your business. Like what is the next step? Is this selling out, right? Is this aligned with really what I want to do? And if you're really stay true to, whatever that need that you're serving is, whatever that mission that you're trying to carry out is. If you really kind of have a very strong why as to, why you're doing it, like everything else can kind of fall in line from there. It just has to be about like, it gets really easy to lose that in the day to day of running a business and all the stress. And I have to pay my bills, I have to pay my employees, I have to pay my, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like I don't have time to just sit down and think about my values. But like, no, actually, like if you just kind of allow that noise to die down a little bit, which again, plug for Tonic products, that is always like what I say, like it's not going to solve all your problems, but what it does is helps to create space between you and your thoughts, right? Like when you have that stress and anxiety that's like just like feels like it like has you by the throat, right? And it's just like allowing that grip to be released and loosened so then you can, put into practice like whatever kind of self-care, whatever kind of meditation or breathing or just kind of time for reflection without having that kind of incessant anxiety playing over and over in your head. It just really creates space, allows you to get that perspective, and then allows you to, kind of just feel more able and, prepared to kind of, just, okay, I can do this. Like deep breath, let's go. You know what I mean? So being able to kind of clear out that noise and really focus again on why you started and why you're doing this and what, that core vision really is, you'll be surprised at how easy it is to make decisions when you're really listening to that voice inside of you and not all the other noise that gets piled up.
100%. Gosh, amazing. I want to focus a little bit on that first year in business and how you kind of, grew out of that community you had of clients into kind of like the market. And I read that you did like $3,000 sales in that first month and obviously proved that there was a real need for your product outside of your clientele. What was your approach to marketing in those early months, first 12 months? And like, how were you getting the word outside of your community?
Yeah, I mean, hands down, Instagram was the biggest thing. And like it was huge. I will give the caveat that for especially for CBD brands right now, you're not going to have quite as much, fast and easy success with the Instagram and social media as I was able to. That's just because, not only has like the landscape of social media, evolved a lot in the past 5 years, but it's also, CBD, the landscape of the CBD industry has evolved a lot. And, now you see it everywhere, right? I'm like in 2019, I'm sure that every wellness influencer that you follow, any kind of wellness page was talking about some kind of CBD product at some point, right? But back in 2017, that was not the case. And the cool thing was that a lot of people were really excited and like interested in trying it. Like it was new to them, haven't really tried it a lot before. And if they hadn't tried it with ashwagandha blended in, like, hadn't tried it with these other herbs and adaptogens that I was using, that was really an attention grabber. And, so I gave away a lot of product. Really came down to trusting the quality and, the effectiveness of the product. And because that was, my feeling was I just need to get it into people's hands. Once people try it and experience it, like they'll love it and, that'll be it. But the hardest part for any product is just to get it in people's hands, right? To get it out there. So I just was, all day hitting up different accounts and talking to different people in areas from, fitness and yoga and wellness to, more so like therapists and counselors and things like that. Anybody who kind of really touched like mental and physical well-being spaces, really focusing on what our demographic, really millennials and more so skewed towards women. Our products are definitely not exclusively for women, but definitely who we speak to a lot more with the product. So really just targeting who's our target demographic, who do I want get to learn about this product, and we just send them care packages of free product, in exchange for a post. And, they were happy to do it and happy to try it out and very grateful that they, had such amazing experiences with it that they were excited to share about it. And, I quickly kind of developed a very crude kind of affiliate marketing program, like where it's just like percentage of sales kind of thing, and just started to build that up to keep those people engaged and keep them kind of motivated to continue to talk about the products and to, tell their community about it. And it really grew very organically from there. So I definitely had that advantage of being an early mover. There wasn't a lot of noise that was compete against, especially like I said, because of the fact my products were very different than the other ones that were out there, right? So now you see CBD blended with ashwagandha and other herbs all the time. But yeah, we were really the first brand to do that commercially, right? Like, cannabis and ashwagandha, I'm not going to take credit for that. Those are both ancient plants that, have been used for, centuries and centuries. But in terms of, bringing a commercial product to the market, we were really the first to do it. And there was a lot of obstacles and difficulties with that too. I'm not going to say that it was easy to be the first, like to really be doing that. It was really difficult to find co-packers or manufacturers because either they would deal with products and supplements that didn't have CBD, like, ashwagandha blends, yeah, no problem. And then there's other manufacturers that dealt with only CBD, but those CBD, manufacturers wouldn't touch other ingredients and vice versa. Like definitely more traditional like manufacturers out there would not touch CBD. So that's really why I had like kind of no choice but to kind of keep, from my parents' kitchen, in the first year I was making all the products in my parents' kitchen. So when we moved up to the farm in, like early 2018, I finally got like my own little office space and was, manufacturing out of there and just continuing to grow. I needed to continue to keep these products just manufacturing them myself because there was not the partners out there that were equipped to do it. So I really had to learn how to do everything myself, kind of for better or for worse. But in doing that, it would allow me to speak to my product with more knowledge and a really kind of in-depth front and back, inside and out knowledge of the product, how it was made, and communicating that to the customers more importantly. So that was something that also really helped to tell that story, how it's made and what that process is and what goes into it and why I choose these ingredients and how why I choose to do things in a certain way. And people really appreciate that transparency. And like so these little things that I gathered like in this first year were like the kind of tenets of the business that really carried through year over year, even to this day, right? Like what do these consumers really care about? Because it's such a new product type and you can try to kind of just fit it into other kind of buckets, right? Of like wellness and supplements and everything like that. But there's this whole education component, there's this like mistrust component, stigma component to it, right? There's all these different layers to really kind of have to sift through when it comes to effectively marketing and speaking to a cannabis related product, even if it's not getting you high, right? There's still a lot to overcome there. So it was really like leading with education, leading with transparency, just kind of really, like I said, being authentic with our customers and kind of always having this talking to them like they're my friends, right? Like, how you would talk to your friend if she came up to you and was like, hey, I heard about CBD. Like, what do you think about it? Somebody who cares about you and is going to tell you the truth, just get all scientific and technical, but it can actually talk to you in a way that's relatable, especially when you're talking about products that are so targeted towards mental health, right? And it's like people want to feel seen in the products that they're consuming and they're engaging with. They want to feel like this is something that they can relate to and that they actually feel good about supporting as well. And like that's really important to me, as well as what do I stand for as a brand and as a company and as a person, and how do I not only communicate that with like consumers but allow them to kind of be part of that. And we started early 2019, started Tonic's purpose program. So basically give back initiative. Each month we choose a different nonprofit partner, and we donate a percentage of revenue every month to a different nonprofit, touching all different areas from social justice and reparative justice, because of the fact that cannabis has such a deep history, kind of rooted in racism and with the war on drugs and everything like that. It really started with like a recognition of that and wanting to give back to those causes, but it's really expanded into women's health. Like October Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we partnered with this group called the Breasties. It's an amazing group of women, causes that are near and dear to our hearts and communities that need our support. And we're not saying a percentage of profits, right? That's what a lot of companies say. It's like, no, like it's not profit, it's just straight revenue. Like before any profits, no matter what, every month we're donating to these different causes and allowing our customers to contribute to these causes as well and feel like, that they're not only buying products that make them feel good, but they're doing good as well.
That's amazing. I love that. So important. People, planet, profit, above profit over everything else. You said something earlier that I want to circle back to around, the challenges that you face in this industry when it comes to things like co-packing, or whether it comes to payment providers or whatever it might be. And I saw on your Instagram that one of your Instagram accounts actually just got shut down recently. And that's obviously a challenge that people in this space face as a huge issue. How do you kind of navigate marketing today, and like what shifts the needle for you now, knowing that platforms like Facebook and Instagram are kind of like, it's wild out there? I'm seeing accounts get shut down every day who, just talk about touch on the word anything and you get shut down. Like it's crazy. So how do you navigate the space now?
It's really difficult. And I will say that I feel like becoming more and more difficult to find channels that are really effective. But the staple and definitely kind of the tent pole of our, like, especially like digital marketing efforts is our email list. That's the one place that we can say whatever we want. We're not censored, speaking directly to people who have chosen to engage with us and, want to know what we have to say, right? Just really like the one kind of direct pathway that we have to consumers that is not kind of filtered out through algorithms and censorship and all these rules regulations. And even if your brand is not kind of subject to those same obstacles as something like CBD is, like that owned first party data, like your email list is so important, right? Or your text messaging list. Like that's something else that we can't do as a CBD company. We're very restricted from SMS. But Norby, we are able to utilize SMS through their platform. So that is huge as well. So collecting those customer emails and phone numbers and being able to kind of have that direct line to your customers is incredibly important. Like, if we put out, even if it's not even like a discount, it's just like sharing a blog post, it's, we see the sales jump from that email because it just brings you back on top of mind, right? Or somebody was like, oh, you know what? I am out of my tonic. I forgot. I keep forgetting to order it. Let me, where to go now. And so like just these little things just to stay on top of your consumer's mind. Email has definitely been, the most effective channel for us, but affiliate marketing as well. So like I mentioned earlier, I started my own little simple affiliate program, just kind of a referral based system really. But now we work with like an affiliate marketing agency that has been really instrumental in like making the affiliate marketing like actually work at scale and utilizing publishers and everything like that. And that's kind of like a poorly kept secret these days, is that everything is pay to play. When you see like these lists like top 5 best CBD products for stress, basically the publishers of those sites, you're not necessarily have to pay direct money to get placed on the list. Sometimes you do, but they want you to have at least an affiliate like account set up, so that way if they're posting that, if anybody clicks and purchases, they're going to get a kickback, right? And the higher you put that rate for their kickback, the higher you're going to get on that list, right? It might, sometimes you see the list of like 30 different products on there, and it's just like, if you want to be number 1 through 5 rather than number 25 through 30, make that commission rate 20% rather than 10, right? And just like little things like this, but that has been really huge in getting us a lot of placements and a lot of these different websites and articles. That's been really huge in just kind of getting us on these different platforms, exposing us to new audiences. And what's really great about it is there's not a huge upfront cost because you're really paying based on performance in a lot of the case, right? So we pay the agency, of course, and we pay these platform fees, but at the end of the day, you're paying based on performance. So it's a much more sustainable way for a small business who doesn't have a lot of capital to throw at marketing to be able to effectively go after these opportunities.
Can you name drop the agency that you use for anyone listening who's like, damn, I want to get into that?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So it's called Spark, SPARK, ROAS, ROAS, return on ad spend, right? So you Google Spark, ROAS. They're great. The woman that I work with, my account manager, we've been working with her for almost 2 years now, is Alex, and she's amazing and great customer service. I highly recommend them.
Shout out to Alex. Love that. So cool. When you think about the lessons you've learned so far in building Tonic, is there anything that you wish you knew before you started? Like any advice that you kind of wish that you got that you could pass on to anyone listening in?
I would say don't try to do it all yourself. Like I talked about, building this vertically integrated business structure where we have the farm, the lab, and the brand. And while that was really built out of necessity because of where things were at the time, the infrastructure of the industry, like looking back on it, not that I would do it differently. Incredibly grateful for different businesses that I've built and different brands that I've been able to serve through these businesses, but it has definitely inhibited Tonic's growth at the end of the day because of the fact that we never raised like a huge amount of money, right? It was always like a very scrappy kind of operation and not a huge team, and it was really trying to do it all, and something is going to suffer because of that, right? Even if everything is kind of seemingly like it's okay, we're not dying, we're not actually kind of reaching the levels that we could have if Tonic was my only focus. If I was able to really just allow somebody else to focus on the production and to focus on manufacturing, a million things that go along with that. Not only just focus more of my energy on sales and marketing and getting the product out there, but also it's a lot of money too, right? Like, just even where I'm spending my money paying payroll for production techs to make the product, rather than, putting that towards a sales team, right? Of course, I would have to pay a manufacturer to do that, but it's different because, as anybody who's been running their business knows, it's all the shit that goes wrong on a day-to-day basis, right? Like, that's your mess to clean up. That's your dollars lost on every mistake. A manufacturing partner, if they mess up, like, that's their dollars lost, right? You're still paying that same fee for the most part. It's really something that it took me a long time to kind of come to terms with. And that's why I'm going to say this with all the love and understanding and empathy in my heart for anybody who's like, I can't trust anybody else to do it but me. There's, nobody else. Again, go back to like, what is your vision? What is your mission? What are you good at, right? And what is your strength? And that is really, a really important and honest conversation to have with yourself, because that is how you're going to accomplish this mission most effectively, right? Is by allowing people who are good at what they do to do what they do so you can do what you have to do, right? And like, that's how you kind of keep this train moving in the right direction and keep moving on track. Looking at what your strengths are, how you can be of most value to yourself and to your business, and then really looking for the right partners to help support you in all these other areas. And that's something that we're learning now as we're transitioning into adult use cannabis in New York and looking at how we're approaching our business model. And it's kind of conversation I had to have with myself as we were thinking about scaling the CBD business. And it's like, well, okay, how much are we going to need to grow more to be able to accommodate as we scale? And like making these projections, I'm like, this just doesn't really make sense. Like, again, like if my values are sustainability, community, like access, and like supporting other people, supporting the planet, doing this in the right way, kind of counterintuitive that hogging it all up for myself. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's like, it's all mine and I'm going to do it all myself. If there's now opportunity to work with other craft growers and cultivators who are utilizing regenerative practices and growing on smaller plots of land spread out across a greater space and not overworking the same land, doing these big commercial industrial kind of grows, but doing it in a way that's more sustainable and more aligned with what we want as a brand, then we can actually help support these growers, help support a wider range of people, a larger community, through our products. So like a revelation that, like I said, that I had kind of in retrospect, and now moving forward as we're kind of entering this new phase of our business here in New York, taking that to heart and really, what are the lessons that I've learned through hemp and the CBD business, and how can I like course correct going forward, right? And like really just continue to improve. Like, you're starting your first business, a lot of learning moments. So let's put it that way. I think a lot of people, like including myself, accept failure or anything like very well. It's something that I have to work on. But it's like understanding that you're not going to get it right the first time, but you have to kind of put your ego to the side a little bit and like just really be honest with yourself on how you can improve. Not that you have to give up, but like maybe there is a pivot that you need to make, right? Maybe this isn't working, but like, how can I like still fulfill this mission that I have and provide this service like in a way that is going to be more effective, that is going to be, a more successful business model. And, it's not all about money, but it's success in terms of how many people you're reaching and how many people you're able to affect and going about that part of your business. So I think really being kind of honest with yourself in those kind of moments of reflection and not being afraid to like admit, okay, I need to do this differently. Like maybe like I need to kind of let go of this. Maybe it's like a product in your line that's not really performing well. And you're just like, all right, like I love this product. And I know that like I have some people out there that are going to be really upset, but like it's draining a lot of my resources. It's not performing well. I need to just let it go. Right. And just being a kind of less strict with yourself. Like that's, again, it took me a few years to really, get to that point and realize that.
That's a good one. Absolutely. Audit yourself, focus, make hard decisions, and, keep going with clarity. I love that. Okay, we're up to the 6 quick questions part of the episode. Some of the questions we might have already covered, but I asked them all the same. So question number 1 is, what's your why? Why do you wake up every day and build this business?
To help people feel better and just really put forth the best products that I can to help people feel their best.
Good mission to have. Question number 2, what's been your favorite marketing moment so far?
I worked with Elvis Duran and The Morning Show for promotional thing, and They invited me to the studio. And what was really cool about that, it was that when I was got our first office space upstate New York, in my office all day making these products, sitting by myself, filling all these bottles. I was listening to, Elvis Duran morning show on my phone the whole time. And they were like my friends, like in the room with me. That was like my only company. A year later, being like in the room with them and they're consuming my products and actually I'm like loving them and telling me how much they love my products. I was like, this is like a pinch me moment for sure.
Full circle moment. That's cool. Love that for you. Question number 3 is, what's your go-to business resource when you're looking at a newsletter or a podcast or a book to consume?
And I subscribe to so many different newsletters and everything like that. But I have to say, podcasts, I haven't been listening to much podcasts. I've been listening to some cannabis specific podcasts to help with certain efforts that we're doing with the product development on the THC end. Read a whole bunch of different cannabis report newsletters, New Frontier, Green Market Report, New York Cannabis Insider. All these different things are definitely on my daily list. And then I like to read Morning Brew and Marketing Brew and all those. I get all those newsletters and I read that first thing in the morning.
Love those ones. Morning Brew is great. Question number 4 is, how do you win the day? What are your AM or PM rituals and habits that keep you feeling happy and successful and motivated to keep going?
Every morning, meditating has been huge. I started that practice a couple years ago and it's made a huge difference just starting my day with mindfulness and, that quiet time before all the craziness starts. And then ending my day, smoking a joint, relaxing. CBD I use, all through the day. And then once I'm done working, that's time for THC consumption. So smoking a joint at the end of the day with my husband and my dog, and it's all good.
Love that. Question number 5 is, what's been your worst money mistake and how much did it cost you?
So many of them. There's probably like 5 different events that I paid like $5,000 each for that were all mistakes. But I think that probably the biggest one was paid like $20,000 for this conference appearance, like this whole package with speaking and everything like that. It got canceled because of COVID and rescheduled and everything like that. And like I just wanted my money back and they would not give me my money back for it. And so I did not even end up being able to make it and completely wasted $20,000. But I think besides that, I have another one that is very similar. Another is when it was actually $25,000 for a commercial. This was again like back in 2018, kind of as seen on TV kind of commercial with Kevin Harrington or whatever from Shark Tank and all these things. And the commercial ended up coming out so badly and like it was so cheesy and so terrible and just could not even get it to the point where I was like, this is actually going to be worse for my business. You know what I mean? Than any exposure like would benefit because this is like not the kind of exposure that I want. This would actually hurt my brand. So that was $25,000 wasted for sure.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Yeah, it's easy for like, we talk about all the highlights and all the good things and all the growth. And then you realize that still there are these really gnarly things that happen in business that you've just got to be like, that happened and I've got to keep on going. And it's important to bring those things to the surface, I think, for other people listening so that people don't feel alone when they're going through a moment like that. So thank you for sharing. Question number 6, last question. What is just a crazy story, good or bad, that you can share from this journey in building a business?
Well, I don't even know if it's the craziest, but our first year farming, we actually had a really bad flood on our property right before harvest, right when the plants were ready to go. 7 a.m. in the field on the farm, just waist deep water, and I was on my stomach on the plants that were in the back and not drowning it with like a handsaw, cutting down the plants with a handsaw to try to just salvage whatever we could and getting through all of that and trying to turn around. 2 days later we had our first event at the farm. Like we were hosting this like beautiful event with the lovely ladies of Humble Bloom. It was their kind of launch event and everybody to see these beautiful plants and everything like that in these beautiful fields. And we were just, like I said, covered in mud. Like at the end of the day, like swamp creatures we looked like, just completely covered in mud but we got the plants, salvaged as much of the plants as we could, got everything cleaned up, and we hosted 25 people at the farm. A couple days later told that story and went from like the most stressful moment like ever, like turned into this really amazing like moment. Like as you just said, it's really important to kind of share the lows as well as the highs. And it was, yeah, really cool to see how people like actually responded to that story, kind of understanding the plight of the farmer a little bit more and appreciating more so. And, we had an amazing event and it was just such like a crazy juxtaposition of lowest lows and the highest highs. And that's been the pattern since then, I guess.
Absolutely. Wow, that sounds crazy. Thanks for sharing. Gosh, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing so much about your journey with Tonic. It's so interesting and I'm such a fan. I can't wait to see what you do next.
And I wish that we could ship to Australia so I could get you some.
I know, me too. I wish one day.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, really appreciate you having me on. Really great. Great time.